I'm Tobie Hewitt. I'm a psychic medium and a creative mystic, also a healer. I do it all. But for today, I am doing myself as presenting simple gifts because I live a spirited life, which is kind of the name of the book that I wrote that this is based on. A disclaimer. This presentation is offered by and through spirit, mine, and those on the other side, including guides, teachers, and masters. Incarnate and discarnate, we are all connected by and through the energy of love. There is no death. There are no dead. Namaste. Namaste. What does this mean? It means that my spirit, my divinity, bows to your spirit, your divinity. And this is how people greet themselves all over Asia, but not here because we like sharing germs by shaking hands. But this is actually the way that we're able to connect to another spirit. So the first thing that we do when we say namaste is connect to another human being who has a spirit inside of them. When I was a little girl, when I was 3 years old, I went out to my backyard, and there was a man sitting on the edge of my sandbox, which is an unusual thing. I mean, the whole yard is bordered by a picket fence. There was only one way in and out, and I hadn't seen him come in. But he was sitting there, very dapper. He was kind of sitting like you, just sitting there, leaning on his cane, a nice vest, really handsome guy. But I have been told never talk to strangers. So I ran and got my mother, and by the time we came back, he wasn't there, which of course was the first time my mother ever gave me the look, like, are you nuts? And so she went back and was finished making my lunch, and it was years later that I found out that that was my spirit guide, and his name was Roger. And we had known each other in Dover, England in the 1800s. And we were part of paranormal and metaphysical groups. And as we got older, we were just friends. As we got older, we decided that in this time frame, I would be incarnate and he would be spirit. He would be my spirit guide. And he's been a really darn good spirit guide, let me tell you. And he's here now, and I feel very safe and, taken care of. That's my history with Roger. He's always there for me. I did get another spirit guide a few years ago. She used the name Nakoma, which I know is from some movie or some story or something, but that's what she gave me. And I said, well, how am I going to know that you're really here? I was taking healing courses, crystal healing, a couple of things, Reiki. And I said, how will I know that you're real? And she said, I will leave you a gift. I will leave you something, and you will find it, and you will know absolutely that it's from me. And so my boyfriend and I we like to go antique hunting, and so we were going through all these antique stores, and the minute I turned the corner, I saw exactly what she had left me, and it was a piece of Sedona rock with a hole right in the middle of it, like you could just bend over and look through it. And on top was a Kachina doll, which I later found out was the healing Kachina. It was an outline, a metal outline. And I knew at that moment that I had a healing spirit also. So that's kind of nice. She comes in when I am trying to heal people, but she doesn't give messages or anything like that. The thing I want to talk about is psychometry next. Psychometry is when I hold something that a sitter, person who wants a reading, has brought so that I can connect to them. You know, if they don't bring something specific, I normally take one of their rings or necklace or something, and I am spiritually attached to them then. And the psychometry is that I can read not only them, but that connects me to the people on the other side that they want to talk to. So I learned that I could do that. I learned about that when I had my first psychic reading, medium reading, which was at Lilydale, in the first part of January of 1973. Gosh, that's a long time ago. Anyway, so I went to see this woman, Mrs. Deschard, and she predicted everything down to the dates that would happen to me with the fellow I was about to meet. And this was going to go on for 3 years. And I won't bore you with the gory details because it was one of those on and off and on and off, then got married, then the marriage fell apart real quickly. And he was into what I was into, so it was really cool. I went back halfway through and she remembered me. She said, you don't have to keep doing this. You can walk away. You have free will. And I said, yeah, but I got to know if the whole thing is true, if everything you said is accurate. So I stayed to the bitter end. But anyway, at that point, I knew how, watching her, I knew how to give a psychometric reading. It came to pass that I was working at a sewing factory in Dunkirk, New York, and the security guard was a basket case, total basket case. And he told me, we were on a break, and he said something about he's on this massive dose of Valium, and he doesn't know what's wrong, he can't get off of them, and he's just going crazy. And I believe that's the point where Roger said, ask for the ring. So I said, can I hold your ring? And it was gold with a ruby in it. Big, big ring. And he handed it to me, and it was my first, you have to remember, this is my first psychometric reading. And I grabbed, he put it in my hand, and I said, well, there were 3 men who wore this ring before you. One was hit by a train, one had a massive heart attack, and one drowned. And he said, yeah, those are my relatives. They all died that way. And I said, get rid of the ring. And so I wish I had known what I know now, which I wouldn't have told him to get rid of such a nice ring. I would have told him how to cleanse the ring and get rid of all the vibrations. But be that as it may, several months later, he'd gotten rid of the ring. He was off Valium, looked like $1 million, lost weight, looked great. And it was all because he had gotten rid of the ring. So he no longer had those vibrations near him. What is a reading like for me on my side? I mean, for the sitter, it's basically they sit down and that's about it. They sit down and they want to know what's happening on their side and the other side. When the sitter sits down, and I normally only know their first name and nothing else about them, and I make sure they don't say anything other than their name. I will get their ring or whatever they want me to hold. This part of me opens. I like to, it's somewhere up in here. I mean, it's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It just opens up. And I can sense things that I can't, like right now, I'm sensing things because I sort of put myself in that position for a minute. So that's what it's like. And then impressions come to me. Normally, I get a name. And that kind of freaks people out because it's like one woman I said, Tim's here. And you go, oh my God. And she starts sobbing and crying. And she says, that's the person I wanted to talk to. And he had died in, I guess, a motorcycle accident. And then her aunt came through too. And it was just like this family reunion. So I get people's names quite a lot. And if I don't get something specific about their dead person, because there's no death, there are no dead, but their dead person, I then stop the reading after 10 minutes and don't charge them. Because it's a ridiculous waste of my time and their time if I can't pick up something in 10 minutes. If someone can't show up, I normally say to people, if you want to talk to somebody, you invite them to the reading and it'll go much faster. Because sometimes I have to sit there and they say nothing and I have to go looking for this person who I can see, but they didn't invite. So it takes a little bit longer. But at 10 minutes, 10 or so minutes, unless they say, no, keep going, I end it. That's it. Because if I don't get something specific, I don't care. I don't want to keep going and charging them. One of my favorite readings was with a father and his daughter. And his wife and the mother had passed away, and they wanted to talk to her. And so I said, well, Patty's here. And that was like, okay, that's it. Yep, okay, that's her name. And for 10, 15 minutes, I went through like everything that she wanted to tell me from the other side. And then she stopped. She goes, say the word yellow. I was like, no spirit had ever asked me anything like that. I said, what? Just say the word yellow. So I, okay. And I looked at the 2 people in front of me and I said, she wants me to say the word yellow. And the man, who was sort of hefty and in a folding chair, went back 3 feet. And the girls start sobbing. And I'm like, okay, what just happened? And they said, last night when we were in the kitchen, we spoke to her and said, if this is true, if she is real and she is talking to you, get her to say yellow. And so I got proof, they got proof, everybody got proof, and Patty went on her way, and everybody's happy. And I actually gave readings to them several times after that. Well, not him. I don't think the daughter came again. So it became like just getting people together, for a party or something. Another one that I did was the donut guy. That's what I call him. I'm so sad. I was doing a seance. These two women were sitting there. There was a man spirit right between them who looked like the donut guy, time to make the donuts. He looked exactly like him. I talked about what he said and what he looked like and everything else, and they kept nodding and yes, that's who it is and blah, 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 blah. So I gave all the information, went around the circle. When I was done, the seance is over, one of the people they were sisters said, "Would you like to see his mass card?" Which I wasn't really sure what it was, but they showed it to me and it had a picture of him and he looked exactly like the time to make the donuts guy. So I love that story. Then I always had another of my favorite is when I did a seance and my friend Mike was going to be there, who also does this kind of work. And we all sat down, except Mike didn't show up. I don't know, something had happened. And I noticed that there is a Vietnam vet spirit walking around. And he stops at each person and he looks them in the face. And then he comes up to me, he goes, "He isn't here." I'm not responsible for who's here and who isn't here. But he said he was going to be here. That's why I came. I said, well, maybe something happened. And I said, why don't you come back next month? Okay. So we had a seance. Mike shows up and this guy shows up too. He goes around, he goes, "Oh my God, it's Mike." And they knew each other when this guy was in body. And it was just this really miraculous thing. I had never thought about them coming. I always have to go find them. I never thought that they would be coming to something when they knew that someone was going to be there. And they're aware. I mean, it's kind of miraculous. People think, oh, they're dead. They're not dead, and they pay attention to everything that's going on down here. Recently, I used to watch channelers that got messages, and they were all kind of weird. I'm not going to mention names, but one of them took on, had a white turban and white flowy clothes and would, talk in this weird accent. I was totally turned off from the idea of channelers. It never occurred to me that that's not all channelers do. And I started realizing that when I write, I'm a writer. I wrote a nice book that this is based on. When I write, sometimes I'm not thinking and I just keep writing. And I'm thinking, but I'm not thinking, and I'm writing. And then everything will stop. I'll look back and I went, oh, heck, where'd that come from? And I finally realized I'm a channeler too. But I'm not going to get a turban, and I'm not going to wear white flowy robes, and I'm not going to speak with a weird accent. Some people might know who she is. Anyway, channeling is just getting messages and writing dictated from spirits, teachers, and masters. And it's very cool because, I like to think I know a lot of stuff, but I don't know everything. And so they can pick up the pieces when I'm trying to talk about some esoteric topic, or they give me the whole topic. Or I found out that if I push this button on something on my phone, I can do talk to type. And I talk and I'm not thinking about it, but the thing is typing it as I'm getting it through me. Very cool. I'm going to give you one in a minute, but we have a signal system, so I know when they're coming and when they're done. When I'm preparing to actually receive, or when I know that they are about and they want to dictate, I call it, I take dictation. They say, "We are here for you." And I say, "I am listening." And this is what I got a while back, and I just think it's a good one, and I think I'd like to share it. This is what they said. There is a change happening in the world both on the macro and micro levels. Things are falling apart, seemingly so, but in reality, the groundwork is being laid for a new beginning, a new perspective on what this planet was created for. We are helping those who know truth to carry on, to lead, to guide, to help those blinded by dogma. You write about dogma. They were talking to me. You write about dogma because it is not what was intended. though it exists as a learning modality for what not to do. Believe the idea that you are a spirit in a body that is supposed to coexist with an awareness that that which surrounds you is also nature. You are not here as a single organism, but as a part of a larger energy source for growth. Everything is where you are. Nothing is hidden from you. You need just to open eyes and minds and hold on to the truth of being, not blindly following dogma, which exists on so many levels and so many forms. This is not to be a constrictive experience of learning, but expanding always, expanding outward and inward. We can't, won't hold hands with those who will not open their hands toward each other and nature. Dogma versus deism. Nature is what you are, all there is, as above and so below. This is enough for now, blessed be. And that's how they all end. Or I just go, okay. So I'm building up a collection of these, and it's very interesting because they talk about things I know, but I don't know it from their perspective. And that's what the miracle is when I channel. Synchronicities. We get to the part where you get all involved and can do these things. Synchronicity is when, for example, you're watching TV and you're reading, and the same word on the TV appears as you are reading. So it's the same word or same series of words. That's synchronistic moment, a sync moment, I call it. And for me, these happen frequently. I mean, really frequently. I put them in my phone. Then I stopped doing that, and I put them on index cards, and then I put them on little pieces of paper, and I know that they're there, and so there's not a lot of, oh, see, we're here. But for people who don't have that all the time, synchronistic moments are like miracles. And they're telling you that the people, the spirits, the masters, the teachers, are paying attention to you. And they want you to know that, and that you're not alone. Never alone. I mean, there's privacy, but there's never being alone. That's a joke. Anyway, so synchronicities can pile up. I have been able to form whole sentences and paragraphs from different instances of synchronicities. So watch for those, because it means that spirit is trying to contact you. And then what happens? Well, then you start to develop your intuition. What are they trying to tell me? What is happening? Do I know something I don't know that I know? That's part of intuition. For those of you who are not aware, I'm sure you all are. Intuition is when the phone rings and you know it's Aunt Mary. And you pick it up and, oh my God, it's Aunt Mary. Or when you're walking down the street and you go, oh, I haven't seen Bob in a while. And you turn the corner and there he is. These are intuitive moments. So-and-so is going to call. You know this. And you wait and you wait and you wait. Okay, intuition doesn't happen in the snap of fingers. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But you can develop your intuition and use what you get from that to help guide your life. Because if you listen long enough and clearly enough, you will start to find that you are being guided. And so that's one example of intuition. When I first gave this talk years and years ago, the world had not progressed to where it is right now. And this talk right now has progressed to deal with now. And so I was told to add a little bit about empathy and compassion and cooperation, because that's what we're all supposed to be working towards now. It's kind of like us and the universe, and we're supposed to gather everybody and sing Kumbaya and be happy and do things together in empathy, compassion, and cooperation. That's what's supposed to be happening. There's a thing called the 11:11 experience. You look at the clock, it says 11:11. Most people go, well, that's nice. Nice coincidence. But 11:11 is a call to do something when you see it. Or if you're lucky enough to know when it's going to happen, you set your timer and you get there and you sit down and you think, all right, this is what I'm going to say. And this is the prayer I say. This is going on continuously around the globe. When it hits 11:11 in every sector, there are people who actually stop and pray or do, mala beads, whatever. But this is what I say. I say, this is the meta prayer. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. May all beings be free. And that's a hope that I have for everybody right now. And so I'm trying to say the metta prayer a little bit more frequently. Namaste. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are all in this together, created by the creative spirit in and through the energy of love. That's what created us. So I'd like to end with a couple of quotes from a person that I was lucky enough to interview for some articles in the Hudson Valley paper. Claire Danielson passed away in 2007, and she was the founder and steward of Fountain Place, an eco-spiritual center for re-inhabiting the earth in Highland, New York. I had the great honor of interviewing her, and I wrote for the paper, and I wrote her, having never met her, I was asked to write her memorial for when she passed. So I feel connection with her. And this is some of the stuff that she said to me. It is time for a paradigm shift about how we feel about and deal with the planet. It is important to acknowledge that the earth is not just for our exploitation of it, but that we are a part of it. We are to look after our least by creating a society of systematic unselfishness. People who have things need to learn to give, and people who need things need to learn how to receive. Thus will each be responsible for and to the other, and all will help to create a caring and loving community, which is why I'm going back to doing all this, because now I feel that Spirit wants me to take up the reins and do this again and talk to people about this, because no matter what happens, we're all one spirit, individuated into different physical bodies, and we are all the same energy. And that energy is love. This presentation has been based on my book, Simple Gifts, Living a Spirited Life, a Memoir.